Turkey and Russia have launched joint ground patrols in northeastern Syria. The operation is part of a deal struck by the countries to end Turkey's offensive against Kurdish militia in the border region and remove the Kurdish fighters from the area. The patrols will begin within a 10-kilometer zone along the border. The step cements the power shift in Syria a month after President Donald Trump withdrew US forces from there. For more, I'm now joined by our correspondent Julia Hahn in Istanbul. Julia, what are these patrols all about?
Well, the deal struck there between Ankara and Moscow last week provided for the withdrawal of Syrian Kurdish fighters some 30 kilometers from the Turkish border. Ankara considers these fighters terrorists with links to the local PKK insurgency. So the withdrawal was the Turkish government's condition for pausing its deadly offensive there in northern Syria. Now, Russia said some 34,000 fighters have indeed left the area, but Turkey wants to use these joint patrols to confirm this, and President Erdogan has repeatedly threatened in the past days to restart this military operation if deemed necessary.
And Julia, Syrian President Bashar al-Assad has been talking about Turkish-Russian cooperation. Let's first take a listen to what he said on Syrian state TV.
This agreement is a positive step. It does not achieve everything, in the sense that it will not pressure the Turks to leave immediately. However, it limits the damage and paves the way for the liberation of this region in the future, or the immediate future, as we hope.
So, Julia, Assad is sounding very upbeat there. What do you make of his comments?
Well, yes, it appears Assad feels like he's the big winner after everything we saw happening there in northern Syria since early October, since US President Trump announced the withdrawal of American troops from the area. As we know, after Turkey started its military operation, the Kurds have turned to the Syrian regime and its most powerful ally, Russia, for help against the Turkish attacks, and this in turn allowed Bashar al-Assad to swiftly deploy forces and reclaim territory there in northern Syria where he didn't have a foothold in many years. Now, the Kurds in the area are still somehow hoping for a political solution, for some kind of self-rule deal with the Syrian regime, but yesterday in his speech, Bashar al-Assad said that he aims to restore state authority over the Kurdish-controlled areas. So for him overall, this is a huge step towards winning the Syrian war there, and that's why expectations are very low that the Syrian regime will make any concessions. For example, in Geneva, where currently we have talks going on about a new Syrian constitution brokered by the United Nations.
Now, the UN Secretary General Guterres met Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan today. What did they talk about?
Well, nothing has emerged yet publicly from this meeting, but we know that Turkish President Erdogan wanted to talk with Guterres about his plans for establishing what he calls as a safe zone there in northern Syria. This is one of the main objectives of Turkey's military operation. Erdogan wants to resettle many of the 4.6 million Syrian refugees currently living here in Turkey to this area. He wants to build houses, schools, police stations, hospitals, so whole cities, basically. And this is, of course, a very costly project. State media here in Turkey have reported an estimated $26 billion at least this would cost. So Erdogan was going to ask Guterres for setting up an international donors conference because he can't pay for it alone. The big question is, would the UN really get on board? Because these so-called safe zone plans have received a lot of criticism internationally outside of Turkey. Some say this is Turkey trying to occupy parts of northern Syria, or trying to change the demographics of this area. And then, of course, the big question is, what do Syrian refugees themselves say? Would they voluntarily return to this area?
Julia Hahn in the Turkish city of Istanbul, thank you very much for that.